Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to Lucario of Legend for the Patreon donation. You are amazing, thank you so much. Lucario is in the Corn Snek tier, which gives them a one-time verbal shout out at the beginning of a video, and the name will be posted as a thank you at the end of every single video I make for as long as they're a patron. If you want the same, or have other rewards like requesting a video topic or game to play through on Twitch, then head over to my Patreon to see what all is in store. And now on to the video. The 90s were weird, man, especially for the film industry, and even more especially for movies aimed for children. I mean, think of it. Outside of Disney, whose renaissance of animated films spawned classic after classic throughout that decade, kids in the 90s had very unusual motion pictures directed towards them in the hopes of dragging their parents into the theaters and forcing them to sit down and endure 90 minutes of pop culture references and cheesy ninja movies, and said parents telling their kids that they should have gone to the bathroom before they left so they didn't miss part of the film in order to prevent little Johnny from having an accident again. That's not to say that all non-Disney kids movies were bad. Plenty were either legitimately good or one of those so bad it's good type of movies. These are the kind of films adults who were raised in the 90s love to reminisce about for various reasons. There was Ninja Turtles, Three Ninjas, Surf Ninja, Beverly Hills Ninja, see I told you there were a lot of ninja movies. But there were others like Good Burger and Jingle All the Way that people used to love despite their quality not exactly holding up today or even back then. I mean, I unironically love the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen, and yet I enjoy watching it even to this day.
Hey, the name's Mario. I'm your main man. You Ramadan, you can of Spain.
I bring this up because I saw that there was apparently a release date for Space Jam 2 starring LeBron James. Now, the original Space Jam was released in 1996 and starred NBA legend Michael Jordan as, well, himself. You know, it's interesting that we have the guy who was, and still is, compared to MJ playing the lead role in the sequel to MJ's most popular movie. Will Space Jam 2 be as good as the original, even better, or will it not quite live up to the expectations fans of the original have? I mean, the answer to that is just as interesting as the debates basketball fans have concerning if whether or not Michael Jordan in his prime could beat LeBron James.
If I was in my prime, could I beat LeBron in a one-on-one? No question.
But back on topic, the original Space Jam is a completely accurate, 100% factual tale of how Michael Jordan came out of retirement the first time and played once again for the Chicago Bulls, unlike the second time where he went to the Washington Wizards. Weird move, but okay. It's the perfect formula for a sports movie. You have drama. You have danger. You have real-life struggles as you try to accomplish your lifelong goal only to end up being kidnapped by Bugs Bunny and forced to play basketball against an invading alien What? Hold up. Let me see that script. Oh, I got that mixed up with the 2000 documentary Michael Jordan to the Max. But then what was Space Jam?
What do you think? I'm kinda partial to purple and gold myself.
Oh yeah, that's right. You know, the promotional picture for Space Jam 2 makes a lot more sense now. I mean, the beginning of the movie starts out like a classic sports drama. It opens up all inspirational like with uplifting music I can't play due to copyright issues and a young Michael Jordan telling his dad about what he wants to be when he grows up.
I want to play in North Carolina. I want to play on a championship team. Then I want to play in the NBA.
He doesn't dream big, he simply wants to go to school and play basketball. I mean, compared to what he actually accomplished, just college and playing pro sports is small-time dreaming if you think about it. But after that, we are treated to probably one of the best opening title sequences in all of 90s cinema. Hey, if I have to suffer by ruining an amazing opening credit scene in order to avoid copyright infringement, then y'all are gonna suffer with me. But what we have next is worse than any destroyed version of a classic song I could ever come up with, and that's the plot of this whole movie. You see, while Michael Jordan made a career oopsie by retiring from an amazing basketball career and transitioning into a mediocre baseball career that actually happened in real life, which still confuses me to this day, you also see the plot start to develop in the alien amusement park Moron Mountain. The owner of the theme park, voiced by Danny DeVito.
I got my Magnum condoms, I got my Wad 100s, I'm ready to plow.
Anyway, the owner of the theme park is upset over hearing he's losing customers due to faulty equipment, and instead of just fixing what's broken, he tries to think of a cheap gimmick to make a profit.
Okay, we need something. We need something nutty.
Nutty.
Something wacky.
Wacky.
We need something. We need something.
Looney? Oops. Looney.
Okay, so it seems like a decent idea, but how are they gonna get the Looney Tunes to perform for these guys?
Make 'em.
Cool.
So instead of trying to fix what they already got, the boss decides to enslave dozens of cartoon characters to make as much money as possible as the rest of his theme park most likely crumbles around them due to a lack of maintenance. Seems about as logical as the rest of the plot, especially since the very next scene has MJ's opposing team catcher try to help him get a home run. What?
Slider, don't swing. I told you not to swing. I couldn't help it. I understand. Hey, nice talking to you.
It's not only the catcher who is kissing that booty, but everybody in the stadium treats him like a saint to an almost unrealistic and unsettling degree.
Good job, buddy.
Hey, good try, good hustle.
Good cut, Michael. Good cut.
That was a strikeout, Mike? That was a good-looking strikeout. Real good.
I mean, you look good when you strike out, man. When I strike out, man, it looks nasty.
I say almost because when Michael Jordan did play baseball, the stadium would sell out and people really did love seeing him play the sport, despite the fact that he wasn't nearly as good as that than he was at basketball. He wasn't really horrible. I mean, it's impressive for a baseball player to start in AA ball, which is just a couple of steps under the major league. And he was a hard worker who earned that respect. He didn't throw his star power around to the same degree as other athletes, and the fans really did love him. So this scene is surprisingly slightly more accurate to real life than you'd expect. But it was still put on way too thick. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to turn it down just a tad bit. Maybe dial it down to 11, perhaps? But it's here that we meet Stan Podolak, who is a clingy fanboy hired to help MJ out in any situation and make sure he is happy and well taken care of. Just don't let him near any dinosaurs. They don't seem to like him for some reason. Wait, these guys are cartoon characters, right? So why did they have to enter the world of the Looney Tunes through our world? Is this evidence that these guys are from another alternate universe altogether? And if that's the case, then where would Roger Rabbit fit in, seeing both Warner Brothers and Disney cartoon characters seemingly share the same world despite having different continuities? I never thought Space Jam would be so thought-provoking. But enough of that. These small guys from another reality interrupts Bugs Bunny's usual antics with Elmer Fudd and tries to force him to go to Moron Mountain.
We seek the one they call Bugs Bunny. Yeah, Bugs Bunny. Have you seen him? Where is this guy? Is he around?
Never heard of him.
They're not very good at it.
Hold on there, Mr. Looney Tune. Hey, what do you think we are, stupid? Don't move a muscle.
Characters that are dimwits, but not entirely stupid. I'll be honest, these guys aren't a half bad choice for being the villains of the movie, but they are a little gullible, as you'll see in a minute. Heh, little. It's a short joke.
Diminutive, ain't they?
So Bugs formed the meeting, having all the major Looney Tune characters stop what they're doing to attend, even going as far as to interrupt their shows.
Stop this cartoon. We've got an emergency cartoon character you need to go to. Hey, wait for him. Wait for him. Hold your horses.
A bit of a side note, up until Michael Jordan enters the cartoon world, there is absolutely nothing noteworthy of his part in the film. Every scene up until then is just filler to extend the movie's runtime, which is why I'm not going to talk about anything involving MJ's family. Even in later scenes, they're just there for the sake of having kids in a cartoon movie. But at the meeting, Bugs tricks the invaders into believing that in order to capture the Looney Tunes, they need to give them a chance to defend themselves in any way the Tunes desire. So yeah, little gullible. Not stupid, except for the blue one, but they are about as dumb as they are tall. Man, I really gotta stop trying to force these jokes on people.
Now, what are we looking at here? We got a small race of invading aliens. Small arms, short legs.
Not very fast. Tiny little guys.
They can't jump high. We challenge you to a basketball game.
The Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "There's no greater danger than underestimating your opponent." And the greatest philosopher of all time, Shrek, once said that people judge him before they even know him, which means that Bugs Bunny and the rest of the Looney Tunes made a big oopsie doopsie.
Oopsie doopsie doopsie. Whoopsie time!
See, these little guys are hiding a secret ability that's about to be revealed. They go into the real world, scout out the top talents in the NBA, steal their athletic abilities and placing inside a basketball, which leaves these athletes completely talentless and unable to even play against teenagers in the street.
Yeah.
Not Charles Barkley.
Sing it
Just a
out.
wannabe who looks like him. Sorry. Break out. Shouldn't even be here. Be gone. Wannabe, be gone.
Too bad the aliens didn't take Barkley's talent away before he played against Godzilla. But without their talent, the NBA players try to figure out what happened, but it's just more filler. It's funny filler, they're good scenes, but they don't really add anything else to the plot, which in my opinion is a small downside. There's no redemption arc for them, it's basically them being talentless and they never try to win their abilities back because they won't ever figure out what happened, even after it was blatantly told to them.
They force their way inside your bodies. They need your talent to win a basketball game against Bugs Bunny.
I realize not every scene in a movie has to further the plot, but it's the reason why I won't mention this arc any further. Though speaking of the stolen athletic talent, the Looney Tunes soon find out why Shrek said you shouldn't underestimate your opponents, or was that Lao Tzu?
Yeah, I've heard it both ways.
Hey, hold up with your partial cartoon nudity. It may be a decent booty, but I don't want YouTube angry and up my butt, so please put a censor on yours. But anyway, the Looney Tunes are a little freaked out by this,
I wet myself.
and decide to take a page from these new Monstars playbook by taking some of their own talent. But they're not gonna steal it, that'd be wrong and set a bad example for the children watching this. No, instead they're gonna kidnap an athlete by pulling him through a golf hole while his friends Larry Bird and Bill Murray watch on with indifference.
What kind of camera is that?
It's just
Would you not point that at me, please, and close the lens cap?
doing that just to...
Michael Jordan falls into the Looney Tunes world and meets the cartoon characters, but I don't know. Watching this as an adult, I have to say that this first interaction is pretty bland. I mean, if I was taken by force to a world where animated creatures exist, I'd be freaking out, or thought someone slipped some really powerful drugs into my food or something. But instead, we get this.
Oh, look out for that first step, Doc. It's a real Lulu.
Bugs Bunny.
You were expecting maybe the Easter Bunny?
You're a cartoon, you're not real.
They are. All right, he's okay.
What's going on here?
I think he'd be a little more weirded out after having a rabbit forcibly kissing him and a duck giving him a physical.
You see, these aliens come from outer space, and they want to make us slaves in their theme park. What do we care? They're little, so we challenge them to a basketball game. But then they show up, and they ain't so little. They're huge! We need to beat these guys, because they're talking about slavery. They're gonna make us do stand-up comedy, the same jokes every night for all eternity. We're gonna be locked up like wild animals and then trotted out to perform for a bunch of lowbrow, bug-eyed, fat-headed, humor-challenged aliens!
Okay, I get that the Monstars forcing the Looney Tunes into slavery is bad, but isn't that kind of what they're doing willingly already? I mean, when Porky Pig interrupted the old Roadrunner cartoon, it was as if it was done on live TV. So that means they've been performing their own reruns for decades for an audience. Other than the slavery thing, it seems like they're just going to be doing the same thing they've always been doing.
We gotta get new agents. We're getting screwed.
So Michael, still uncertain about helping the Looney Tunes, goes to the basketball court and sees the Monstars for the first time. He doesn't like them and they get on his nerves, which, all things considering what they do to him, is understandable, and so he agrees to help Bugs and the rest of the cartoons. Practice goes as you'd expect for a bunch of crazy
Correction. We're the Looney Tunes.
characters until a new player shows up in the form of Lola Bunny.
Has anyone here ever played basketball?
I have. I'd like to try out for the team.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Lola Bunny.
Lola?
I think what we're witnessing here is the sole reason why furries are a thing.
Ooh, he's hot.
I think Lola was really just created for this movie to give a mild sex appeal, a cheap attempt to add girl power into the film as the only other female Looney Tunes in this is Granny,
I'm a cheerleader.
and to be the romantic opposite for Bugs. She doesn't have much of a personality here besides her provocativeness, and she has a mild anger issue. But it'll be fine, just don't call her doll. So there's one final filler scene where Bugs and Daffy get MJ's gear before the big game, and like with the other scenes, is just there to fill the runtime. The only thing of importance here is that Stan, who is trying to dig his way to MJ, sees how Bugs and Daffy return to their world, so he follows them. Wow, that man is really dedicated to his job. So it's time for the big game, the climatic third act where the Toons play for their freedom against the Monstars. Now, this game is to be played in a very sportsmanlike fashion. Everyone obeys the rules and we have a nice, clean game.
I got it! I got the ball! Oh my. She was wide open!
We're going somewhere. May I remind you, sir, that physical violence is tasteless. Yeah! Did you order original recipe or extra crispy?
Holy crap, that's brutal, even for the Looney Tunes. So much for playing fair. The Toons get some brief payback thanks to a fake energy drink Bugs comes up with called Michael's Secret Stuff, which boosts the confidence enough for them to really take it to the Monstars. They do better during the second half. Hey, what'd I say before about showing the booty?
Nice butt!
No, not that! The payback doesn't last long, however, as the Monstars get serious and just blatantly attempts to murder the Toons. I mean, look at this, they put Tweety in an iron lung. And let's not talk about what happened to Daffy.
But Mommy, I don't want to go to school today. I want to stay home and bake cookies with you.
Their brutality is so bad that MJ has no choice but to put Stan in the game. Yeah, that didn't work out so well for him. It does, however, give Michael an idea on how to win when he watches the paramedics reinflate Stan and take him away.
How'd you do that?
Aw, anybody could do that, Doc. Even you. Watch this. No sweat. This is Looney Tune Land.
So wait, he didn't realize that even after he was crushed into a basketball for the Monstars to practice with? But for the plan to work, he needs a fifth player or else they forfeit the game. However, any amount of violence is completely okay. That's what you get for having Marvin the Martian be the ref.
Shut up! Nice knit, scout cake.
Though with no replacement for Stan, who will come in to save the day?
Whoa! I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture!
First off, nice Ghostbusters reference. Second off, how did he find his way to the Looney Tunes world?
Producer's a friend of mine, just had a Teamster come and drop me off, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, that's how it goes.
There isn't much more to talk about here. The ending is a bit anticlimactic if you ask me. During a typical final 10 seconds countdown, you see the Toons play keep away from the Monstars and Michael Jordan makes the last shot Mr. Fantastic style. The Monstars give the talent back, MJ goes back to the real world to return the athlete's abilities, and it ends with his big return to the NBA. The first one. Not the second one. And that's Space Jam. Will the sequel hold up to this? Well, to be honest, it isn't that hard to if we're talking about the film's quality. The plot of the original is barely held together. It's like it was a movie that was inspired by a commercial, and that's because it was. To promote Air Jordans, Nike got the go-ahead from Warner Brothers to use Looney Tunes characters in various TV spots with Michael to sell the shoes. The idea of Michael Jordan playing basketball with these characters was so popular that it turned into the movie we all know today. It's not the first time Nike tried this. A couple of years earlier, the Godzilla vs. Barkley commercial spawned a comic book that ended with the King of the Monsters wearing the world's biggest pair of shoes by its end. So really, Space Jam 2 doesn't need a decent plot to be a fun movie. But will it live up to expectations? Probably not. I mean, there's still a big fan base there, judging from all the Lola Bunny cosplays and the reactions to the tweet announcing the film's release date. The sequel most likely won't be as memorable, but it doesn't really need to be. See, the first Space Jam was definitely a classic 90s film, but it's not a great movie. I personally love it. I think it's good for its time, and if you like the Looney Tunes but have never seen this, then you're doing yourself a disservice. However, it didn't have great writing. Every live-action actor who wasn't Bill Murray or Wayne Knight were really bad. The plot is more shallow than those cheap kiddie pools you can buy at Walmart, and about 2/3 of the movie is nothing but useless filler. Take the majority of the filler scenes out, and you'd still get the full experience of the movie. That being said, the first one is fun. I still have a great time watching it. The Looney Tunes scenes were well animated and surprisingly didn't look too out of place with the live action stuff, and I don't know, it's just a really good, so bad it's good type of film. The sequel already has a workable template to follow, it just needs to be similar enough to feel like a Space Jam movie but have a different enough plot to stand out on its own. It doesn't have to be a great film or even that good of one. It just needs to be fun and not ruin the classic characters. But before I go, I do have one final question about the sequel. What version of Lola will we get for it? She made very few appearances in Space Jam, and her next major role didn't happen until 2005 with Baby Looney Tunes. But her biggest return appearance was in 2011 with the Looney Tunes show, and with that came a huge change to her personality. However, that's a topic for another time, as this video is going on for way longer than I wanted it to, but I felt the need to shamelessly hint at the topic for my next video. Also, I'm pretty sure at this point I'm just as guilty of putting in needless filler as Space Jam was. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you like what I do and want to help out, then please consider becoming a patron, but it's really not necessary if you don't want to. So with all that being said, I'm gonna head on out. I'm Snek, and I'll see y'all later.